Hey guys, it's been quite a long time since my last map update. In the previous video, I did say I wasn't sure if I was going to make another one, but there have been a lot of people asking for it, uh, just in DMs and in the Metro server that this map is primarily used on. A lot of people have wanted to see kind of what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. And for those of you who are following my map progress, you're going to notice right away that the map is back. um, I've worked a long time to get it to where it is now. Everything is back to where it should be. Nothing's floating in the sky anymore. And then I lied. There's something floating right there. That is hilarious. There's a generator right there. I have to remove that. But the main map itself is all there. So if I just move around, you can see everything is basically right back to where it needs to be. On top of that, I have also made quite a few changes to the surface. So I have these massive apartments up here now, just to give a little bit more of a city vibe, because it kind of felt like just a little town until I added some of these. They're not terribly detailed. I just found some free models online, and then I put a concrete texture on them. But I have put little areas here, where people can sit and hang out. And then I have another little difference over here where Caspian 1 used to be. It's completely empty, and that's because I'm going to be putting an airport over here at some point. I've been sidetracked by a couple of things. This video is not going to be just about the map. It's going to talk about a couple other things that I've worked on as well. You'll also notice, obviously, that the map is covered in snow. So this isn't necessarily exactly how the map is supposed to look right now, and that's because the tunnels below are going to be a little bit too bright. And I just keep it that way, so for the video's sake, you can see what I've changed. But if I just change the settings to how it should be, and this is what the map will kind of always look like in the server, it looks pretty beautiful, I've got to say. Like, just the ambience in the city here is so good. I've been up onto the surface a couple of times with some people. There's a new road that goes all the way across the map over to the Hanza trading area, and the ambience is really, really nice in my opinion over here. And the reason we came over here, one, is to show off the surface of the Hanza station and some of the roads and everything, but two, there have been quite a few massive changes down below in the tunnel that I want to show off. And in order to do that, we are just going to turn some of this stuff off here, just so it's a little bit easier to see what we're doing. But if we go down the station, we have a kind of a wall here with a gate. And if you go through, this is the main trading part of the station. So this is where we have actual Hanza traders who are going to be like RPing up here. That was kind of the intended purpose when I put this in the map, was the upstairs area is kind of like the armory, so people can trade weapons up here. Down below, we have the main part, kind of like the main entrance, I guess, of the Hanza trading post. So I have a couple of berries here just so people can't run straight through and blow themselves up if there's like bad actors. You'll also notice that all of the double tunnels in the metro have been split into kind of two smaller tunnels like this. The feedback has been really, really good right there. People have preferred this. It feels more claustrophobic. And for the sake of gameplay balancing, I have it so they get split up like this every once in a while, so there's kind of big openings so people can still get around. For example, if you go through one tunnel and there's a blockage, you can find an opening like this very easily to get around. You'll see these new passenger trains, these were made by someone in the server named Guardian Angel. He made some amazing trains here. He actually helped edit the one right here. This one was worked on someone by the name of Silent, and then they kind of just worked together in a way to flush it out. These trains here took a lot of inspiration from like the haunted train section in Metro 2033. And then it's also taking a lot of inspiration from the original passenger train cars, which were in the server for a couple months now. If we just go through this tunnel up here, this is kind of what I talked about in the previous video where I had created this checkpoint right here with a massive hallway that leads down into Polis. I'm going to have to make some changes because I have another video coming out probably next week, probably on Monday. And it's going to just show off the hell that this hallway has become. We got into a massive battle with some survivors and some bandits. It was a lot of fun, but my God, it was hell. Some civilians who weren't even wanting to be involved got caught in the crossfire. It's actually super intense. It was a lot of fun. That was a crazy voice crack. Wow. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, this hallway needs a bit of a change. If we just continue down this tunnel here, it's going to open up a little bit right here, and that's just because there's this massive kind of junction here. There's nothing really over here just yet, but I did want to keep it as open as possible, because I figured there could be some events that could be held in there in the future. If we keep going down, we're going to make our way over to the Cursed Station area, which has also received a massive overhaul. We have an area here with some trains that have been knocked over. And we can hear the dripping and everything, so we know we're here. A lot of these stations, I've put these concrete barriers in the middle because I realized, like, if you look at a lot of metros, it's not very common for the trains on both sides to be, like, actually facing each other. So I've done that. Whoops. Oh my gosh. Going crazy right now. We have everything over here still. I've cleaned it up a little bit if you look. It used to be a lot more dirty. There was just stuff laying around. I've put these kind of planks in the way now. I think they look a lot better, actually. But you'll notice that the haunted station continues all the way over here now, to where there's like this abandoned kind of settlement checkpoint thing, which is blood everywhere. I have some glowing mushrooms. So when the tunnel is dark, these do glow and emit a lot of light, so it's pretty cool. There's a new service entrance that goes into this daycare kind of classroom area. And if we go down, that was the doorway that I just showed off a second ago. And then over here, we have just like a massive abandoned pool kind of thing. There's really no reason for it to be here. I just thought it looked really cool in this space. And then in the back, there's just like the little kind of locker room change area right here. So yeah, massive changes over on this side. Let me just move over here. The tunnels have received some big changes. They've been cleaned up quite a lot. So like over here, that's going to lead into another station here with the walls like this. Before we go further down that way, I do want to show off a couple of changes that I've made to just the MOBs in general. Oh, you'll see I also added a train over there. I like the trains. There's a couple of them laying around the map here. But every MOB now resembles this. They're all going to be slightly different, but this is how they're going to look now moving forward. And the reason for that is if we're getting into fights, for example, if Reich is fighting over there for their prison, I didn't personally like the idea of, them spawning and then looking out and just seeing someone standing over there. And I know there's the rule that, they need to be with or outside of 100 meters to engage them, 100 meters from their spawn. In the metro, that's not super feasible. It's so cramped that it's very hard for anyone to be kind of respecting that rule. So I have this wall here. There's also the sandbag posts on either side, so people who spawn in their MOB are more than capable of going into those and shooting out if they want to. I have the staircases kind of split off like that, and they go up and then down, just so it's really easy to get your MOB, but people aren't just going to be stumbling into it. There's the faction sign and everything over there. And then something that I've given Reich, which I haven't given the other factions yet, but I do plan on doing so, is there's this concrete shack right here. And if you go down, which my camera wants to by default, there's a tunnel. So if we go through the tunnel, we have a little kind of storage area here with some medical beds. If we continue to go down, there's a long hallway here. And it just goes all the way up to this staircase that I've made, which then leads to another storage area. Now you'll notice right here, it's got Reich sign and it just goes straight down. The reason for that is this is something I'm testing with the new MOBs, where there's a way for factions to get out of their spawn, but no one can get in that way. The logic that I have in my head is if you want to go back to your MOB, just walk through the front door. You can fight your way through to it because you have the advantage. You're going back home. Whereas if you spawn there and you try and push out, you've lost the advantage. And I don't want people immediately spawn camping their MOB. Like if someone got through the tunnel and they're just standing in that first kind of storage area that I just showed off with the medical beds, that would kind of suck. So I've built this right here where they can hop over the railing here and then go into the rest of the map. Obviously, people can just come here and spawn camp it. People can spawn camp regardless of what you do. But I just personally like the idea that they can leave their spawn, head over here, and then they can fight in this area if they want to. There's some protection for them, or they can just walk through their front MOB. There are multiple ways to leave now, which is kind of what I've always been wanting from this. There's another tunnel that leads down over there, and it goes into a little room that connects right next to Polis, which I'll show off in just a second. But there's also this destroyed wall here, where if you go up, it'll bring you to this open area. So this is kind of new. That is the DMZ right there. So before, Reich would have to run all the way around and then head up. Now they can go straight through and come in here. Now keep in mind, Reich might be dominating this area. They often do dominate the DMZ. What Redline can do is they can go onto the surface and then come down through this massive hole that's been blown into the road right here. So this has been kind of my way of just adding verticality to this map, because I've always wanted verticality to be the emphasis here, because everyone knows the size is very small. This is a tiny map in terms of its surface area. So if I can go up and down with like tunnels, different roads, paths, just things like that to make the combat more engaging, I think that's kind of fun. And nothing's changed over here. It just goes into this kind of military sort of checkpoint thing. So we're going to go all the way back. Nothing has changed over here really at all with the DMZ. For anyone who likes Redline, I apologize. You are going to get a point of interest soon. I've just been sidetracked by a lot of things. But that's basically one of the only things I have to do until I would consider my map quote-unquote finished. So it should come soon, hopefully. The population in the map is very low right now, just due to a couple of things. New games coming out, a lack of just content in general. There aren't a lot of modders working on things right now. So if you happen to be watching this and you're a modder and you like Metro, feel free to make some guns. I'm sure the server would appreciate it. Regardless of what happens with the server, regardless of how many people playing it, this is my map, so I'm going to finish it. That's the reality of it. This is my baby. I'm gonna make sure my baby is done and that it's as good as it could be, so that I can at least be happy that I made a really cool project that a lot of people have at least enjoyed. I have almost 1,000 downloads for the map, which is super, super cool, so I'm glad that people do like it. And then while I'm discussing that, I did notice the track here is off. I'll just pretend it's because it's been broken. We're also going to leave that as it is. We're gonna go down. Like I mentioned, there are some areas that are still open like this, and like the tracks are a little bit off. I might put like little service things over here, just so, whoops, camera's going crazy, just so it makes sense that it's kind of like indented more. So we're gonna go through here, and this is that little room that I mentioned that the tunnel goes through, like that. And it brings us further over here into the new and improved Polis. I think Polis looks awesome now. It was a little bit more barren. There wasn't a whole lot going on. It was a little bit too open, I would say. But I've added so many new passenger trains. I've added the main trains. I have this kind of gate here with the lights. And in fact, I do have a working ladder here that goes up to this platform. I have the big walls here. A ton of trains now. And I've actually furnished all of these a little bit. So if we like go in here, we can see I've got like some water. I've got beds. I've got a table. I have my little garbage can fire thing that I've created. I quite like this, so I have this all over the place. I've also changed the way the platform up top works. So originally, for anyone who remembers, it was kind of just like a corrugated kind of like aluminum or like steel wall that's kind of flipped over. It looked pretty janky, but here we have the concrete walls, and then I put sandbags on top with the concrete stairs, so it looks a lot more official, I would say. It looks more realistic. We have this area here, kind of like a little housing area for people who can't get the trains. So these are just kind of built up areas with like little alleyways and like a staircase. So again, more verticality for people. Someone asked me to build like a soup kitchen type thing, so I've built like this little kind of kitchen area here with all the pots. And then in here, we have the market, so nothing's really changed except right here. This is that tunnel that I mentioned going into the Hanza trading area. And that is Polis spawn right there, so I've militarized it a bit, kind of turned this into a little checkpoint sort of deal. One other thing that I want to show off in Polis before I move on is over here. I've made changes to the council room. So the council room kind of acts almost more as like a courthouse now. So I've got rid of the stacked planks for actual concrete. Got the sign here. We have this little cage for people who might be on trial. There have been a couple of trials now, which is really fun. And God forbid you're convicted, you go into this room. So if we go into this room, we have the cells for the people. We have a couple feeding like buckets. We have a little dining area here. And then we have the chair. So you shine a light, there's a chair, there's a stain under it. I don't need to say more. This is it. So we're just gonna move out of here. There's nothing else to see there. What else have I done to the interior? Just moving around. There haven't been like too many changes. I mean, these changes are pretty significant. But other than that, like, nothing has been changed drastically down below here. Again, a lot of these tunnels and things are over here. There's this little area that I mentioned, I believe in my previous video, like a little kind of town sort of idea. There is one more station. Oh, actually, I forgot. This is the train yard up here with my Aurora from wish.com. So I'm building this still. This is obviously a heavy work in progress. But below, this is where Aurora's crew spawns at the moment. So it's just this kind of little, like, I guess, basement part of the train yard. And it just leads into the hallway here, where my main pub is located, Volkov's bar. And then in here, there's been a couple of changes. So a little nightclub area, and then off to the side, like a little clinic area. If I can find where it is, it's gonna be in, I think, over here. Whoops, there we go. So it was this station that I kind of talked about briefly earlier. When I was putting all of my tunnels back, basically what happened was I didn't look at pictures too much about where specific tunnels went. So I discovered some of my tunnels are shorter and also longer in certain areas, just depending on where things have been located. So everything is slightly different, which resulted in me creating this little construction area here. There's just a big opening here. Nothing fit how it could. For anyone who might remember, right where this area that I'm moving my cursor, it was just a massive cave-in originally. That's just what I put there. But I had so much space there, and I remembered there was an event that one of the GMs held about a week or two ago, where this whole part of the map had caved in. They put some objects there to reroute the entire server, and I thought it'd be kind of an interesting idea to build it into the map where the people living in here actually just dug out the cave-in and revealed everything here again. So I have this little construction area that goes over into the pub hallway, and then if we go through here, I have this little kind of tent area that goes off to this hallway, and this leads into the hallway, which again leads over here to Volkov's bar, and then this hallway will lead over there into the Polis market. So that's kind of it for the map. There's been more. I've done more. And in order to show you, I do need to spawn. So one thing that I did was I took a look at the core mod, and I wanted to take as much stress off of the GMs as possible. Again, there is a bit of a lull in the population. The server is pretty dead right now, so I wanted to help them out a little bit. So I managed to make it where every faction, just by default, is now playable. So the setup is far less than it needs to be. I've also turned RHS and the Hanza heavy armor mods into dependencies for the map, which I know console players aren't going to be a huge fan of that. But there are a couple of reasons for that I had to do. One is because there's no modders working on that server. I took it upon myself to create some clothing for the factions, and that's what I'm going to show off right here. So Hanza is my faction in the server, so I'll just stick with them. We'll spawn in the armory. And then we're just going to run through all these signs here just so you can see kind of what I've been working on a little bit. So we're going to ditch all of our clothing here. If I'll throw my vest. He doesn't want to throw his vest off. Okay. I see how it is. Whatever. So we're going to start with Ozcom. We're going to open it up. And we're going to go all the way to the end. So pretty much all I did was I just retextured some vanilla things. So you look, I have a jumpsuit for Ozcom with their logo on it. And I also have just a little kind of outfit here. You'll notice like the logos aren't always perfectly straight or even. That's just due to just limitations of me just not being great at texturing. But I think they get the job done. We're gonna go back. We have bandits. I actually quite like the bandit one. Get rid of the OSCOM things here. Remove all the way over. I create a prison kind of jumpsuit looking thing with their logo. I quite like that. I think it's kind of fun. It got like, the blood stains on it. Over here, we have the Reich. So I have a black jumpsuit. There should be... Yeah, there it is. Sometimes they can take a little bit to render in, but they do pop up. There's their logo. And then I have their special forces kind of drips. And it's also just for basic, like, infantry. But I thought this looked super good. I found this texture online, and I just kind of duplicated it a couple times into a sheet. Laid a black foundation behind it, and then used like a splotchy eraser with a low opacity, and I just kind of clicked around on it just so there's like more splotches all over it. And it is hard to see, but right there I did add some texture to these as well, so they kind of feel more like clothing as opposed to just like a skin slapped on to these shirts that already exist. Next we'll go to Polis. Go all the way over. So here, I have a top and bottoms, like that. It's just like a simple thing. And you'll notice there's something else. So right here, I've created some armor. Now, if you look, the helmet here is kind of bugged out. I know how to fix that. I just haven't done it with this helmet yet, so... I'm glad I did this showcase because I need to fix this right here. But Scorch, who was the individual working on the heavy armor for the server, before he took a bit of a hiatus and went on to other projects, he had mentioned that he lost a couple of his files, so he was kind of defeated about it. I felt really bad for the guy, but what I was going to do was I was going to just grab the Hanza heavy armor that we already have in the server and then retexture it. But when I was in there, I found a couple more files with some of the heavy armor here. So I took some time to also edit some heavy armor for the factions into the server. So this is Polis, like I mentioned. The face shield is down, so I can't see anything. But yeah, the heavy armor looks super, super good. Scorch did an amazing job on it. I'm a huge fan. There's another version, the Hanza one, looks a little bit different. So I'm going to create some variations. The Alton helmet, oh my god. Yeah, it looks so good. So we'll remove that. We're going to move over to Redline. So we'll drop the clothing. This is just the Redline basic kind of uniform right here. So as soon as the texture loads, yeah, we have the hammer and sickle on the arm. I actually quite like this. It's pretty simple, but I'm a big fan. We also have the special forces, which I think looks really good. And then same thing, we have what they've been calling their gingerbread armor. So I've retextured it. Not super good job, but it looks like gingerbread. And if you look, the helmet works in first person here. There's just a couple of like alpha bias settings I have to change, which clearly I didn't do over there with the Polis helmet. It takes 2 seconds, so that won't be an issue at all. But yeah, I think all things considered, this looks so good. I have the big kind of splotchy logo up there, but I love the little hammer and sickle on his chest. I haven't actually checked the values of this yet, so who knows? It might be really bad. It might be impossible to use. So we're gonna quickly just drop that. We're in Hanza. Hanza, admittedly, has a lot going on. It's a really big faction, and there's a lot of people in it. A lot of different branches, so everyone kind of wanted their own thing. So, oh, I've also actually created like custom descriptions for everything. So everything is custom for the clothing. So I have this retextured expedition uniform. It's not perfect, like I said, I'm not like good at texturing, but I think for like a quick little attempt, it's decent for what it is right now. This is the expedition outfit. This is going to be worn by the people who have approval to go up on the surface. And then we have the station uniform, which is going to be obviously worn by people down below. We have a jumpsuit for the people who would prefer to have something like this on as opposed to a camouflage outfit. For the people who want to feel a little more stealthy, some of the special forces, there's a black jumpsuit for them. And then the last shirt here goes with the pants, and it's for the medical team. The medics asked if they could have a custom shirt, and I kind of love the idea. So I'm a big fan of the logo I made. It's just the logo with the little serpent in the middle and then the medic symbol. I think this looks awesome, and I hope the medics like it. Very distinctive, and the PID is still there with that kind of target-looking Hanza logo. So big fan of how Hanza turned out. Maybe I'm biased, but you know, I like it. Over here, we have the Spartan Rangers. So I was working with, let's see, what's this here? Okay, so that's the helmet. I gave them some heavy stuff already as well. But we were working on creating their outfit to kind of resemble hunters from the game. So it's kind of that white sort of camo looking thing. I don't have any icons on their arms, admittedly, because I just forgot to, but I think they have the most distinctive uniform now. So I think PID should be okay. This could also be what is worn underneath the heavy armor that I make, which I'll show off, because I think the heavy armor for them looks pretty sweet. But before I do that, this is kind of what I'm expecting their average person to be wearing. So I got the patch for them right there. Again, they only have it on one side, but it is very distinctive, and I think this looks awesome. A couple of us were in a call for like 3 hours just getting the material here just right, and we're very big fans of how the camouflage turned out. We mixed a couple up, changed the colors a little bit, kind of roughed it up a little bit. You can see it's not like perfectly white, there's some dirt on it. We're very big fans of how this looks. If I throw on the jumpsuit, this is how their armor looks. So I've got the Spartan Ranger icon. I put one on the head, a couple on their shoulders. I think this looks really good with that jumpsuit under it. So very distinctive, very, I guess not very stealthy, but in the dark tunnels, if you're just laying still, people will miss you. I've seen it before. People will miss you. And then last but certainly not least, we have Aurora's crew. So here, I didn't want to go for the super militarized look with the fatigues and everything, because they're not really a military at all in the games. They're just kind of runaways. Not to put them down or anything, but they're not a military. So I went kind of a different route with them here. If I just move over, I gave them a little beanie here, or, you know, Canadian, so it's a toque. I gave them a toque, and I put it in the description there. It is a toque. So I've put it there for them. I think it looks super good. Obviously no protection, but it looks so cozy. And then I gave them kind of like sweatpants sort of things, like a big puffy jacket with their icon. It looks so much more simple from the other uniforms, but I actually really love how this looks. Like, it's just cozy. I think it works. It fits their vibe a lot. It kind of makes me think of some of the main characters in the game itself, so this is super cool. I am going to also give them heavy armor because they would have Artyom's heavy armor at some point. And I'm thinking of painting like one of those like bomber girls on the shoulder, because I think that would be kind of cool. But you know, that's just down the road a little bit. For survivors, I haven't created any clothing, but we've been talking about it a little bit. Some of the people in the server think it would be kind of cool if I created some clothing for the unofficial factions in the survivor faction, which I think could be kind of cool. But yeah, that's basically it right now. This is probably the longest video I would say I've done in regard to the map. Was it almost 40 minutes long? I've done a lot over the last couple of weeks, and like I said, the population is kind of at a low point. The lack of content has been kind of difficult. to deal with, but I've been doing my best to make things work. I haven't had a chance to talk with Scorch yet about retexturing the armor there. So if he happens to watch this, I know he watched the first video. If he watches this one, Scorch, I want to thank you a ton for using those armor pieces in like the Hanza heavy armor mod. It was a nice surprise seeing that there were already a couple of variations I could use in here. So yeah, I didn't model anything. That was all him. I just retextured it poorly, admittedly. But I'm hoping people in the server appreciate that. There's like a little bit new content coming in, some new clothing, some new armor. Weapons are still kind of iffy. Because I'm not much of a modeler. What I could possibly do is retexture some of them to look like some of the Metro guns, then maybe changing the audio of them shooting to make it sound like a Metro gun. I don't know. But that's way down the line. There's a couple more things I want to do with this map. I probably have maybe 1 or 2 more map updates left before I would consider it finished. So there's a couple more locations. Don't want to spoil it too much, but Redline will be getting their own prison. The Bandits will be getting Venice at some point. And then, like I said earlier, that open area is going to be an airport. And then, of course, those poor Rangers, I've been neglecting them. D6 will be finished eventually. So many things have come up over the last couple of weeks that it just kept getting pushed back, unfortunately. But for the people who want to play this map, who are fans of the Spartan Rangers, I want to make sure I can do D6 as good as possible. And I would have felt bad if I had just gone in like a week ago and half-assed it to work on everything else. So it is taking a lot of time, but I do want to get to it at some point and put as much work as I can into it, because I think the location is super cool and it already looks amazing up at the top level. So I want to keep the quality going all the way down to the bottom floor as well. But yeah, that's about it. I don't want to waste too much time. This is a super long video, but there's been a lot to talk about. So I'm very excited. If you're watching this and you've been thinking about playing on the server, I highly recommend it. That's just my own kind of selfishness, I guess, asking you to play on the server, because it's a lot of fun and I want more people to experience it. In my map, you know, I'm a big fan of this. A lot of people are big fans. So if you're on the fence, just come give it a try. I'm not going to say the server's perfect, but if I'm around, you can come say hi. We can hang out. We can go exploring a little bit. It doesn't matter. There's a bunch of stuff we can do. But yeah, that's everything, guys. I appreciate you so much for watching this, and I'll see you later.